Traffic Chief, Assistant Commissioner Mahindra Singh, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. Let's talk road safety. Sadly, we're seeing almost on a daily basis in Guyana the number of accidents that are occurring, but yet some drivers seem not to care nor value persons' lives, despite the measures that are in place by the Guyana Police Force. What are your thoughts on this, sir?
For maybe the past 2 years or just under, I would have been privy to nothing less than road safety or the issues relating to the use of the road being one of the most topical issues. And what we would have recognized in 2024 is that the exceptional measures to raise awareness and, of course, to address the issue of road traffic enforcement, each complementing the other, would have led to significant reduction in terms of accidents, less fatalities, more sort of like forceful compliance with which the users of the road would associate with the use of the road. This year, what you would have noticed is that as we try to raise awareness at a greater scale, recognizing what occurred in 2024, the awareness was raised to target every single road user, especially the motorist class. Now, some persons still take the opportunity while we are doing same to continue in their usual style, so to speak, and that is much to the detriment of a road user, another class, so to speak. Now, looking at what we are faced with is an increase in terms of volumes of vehicles. You had a brand new road commissioned only recently. So while central government is doing what it can do best to support what? An increase in space for you to use or to make travel less time for you to move, and even with an improved road safety capacity with more traffic calming measures and so on in place. Some persons are still bent on one speeding, exceeding the limits of the speed as is established by the law. And what it usually results in is a loss of control. And that is owing to several things: inexperience, one; two, the conditions of the road; and three, maybe forms of road traffic engineering which might not meet the eye because you're not so technically or competent or capable. Now, what is prevailing present day is owing to behavioral changes, nothing else. Were it a case that I, as a driver, and I am, and as part of the road using population, throw caution to the wind, then most naturally you can expect the worst case scenario. And if I were a driver now who practice all the 5 C's of defensive driving, and then we do everything that is in keeping with law, everything would be fine. But yes, there are persons like those. But when, take an example where what I'm trying to say here to help me to maybe enable the public to have an appreciation of what I'm talking about. The use of the Heroes Highway. The Heroes Highway has two carriages with two drive lanes each. So it permits for vehicles to be moving side by side in separate lanes, with all of the road markings in place, supported by the Safe Road Intelligence System where there are speed cameras as well. Yet, for all intents and purposes, some persons, they just are intent on doing what? Undertaking, that is a layman's term, but driving dangerously at the end of the day. Now, when they form that third name, which some people are so accustomed to referring to, what are they actually doing? They are bringing a situation now upon the road and the police for you to address, as limited as you are in terms of numbers. So without making an excuse, we are present. So it puts us now to strike a balance as to what we ought to do, which we know by law we should do. Without frustration, we continue to do as much as we could. And we raise the awareness to what? To realign persons' behavior. There isn't a need for a behavioral sciences unit to shift a driver's behavior to lawful, to voluntary compliance, and to doing things right. It has to be, it's a people thing, it's a person's thing, it's an individual's responsibility. So without going the mile to cast blame, all of us who form part of the road using population, all of us, including the police, we have to confirm what is our fault. Though we operate emergency vehicles which are authorized to carry sirens and the flashing lights, and we can and will breach the traffic based on the demand at the time, there are instances of abuses. There are instances when sometimes the drivers of these emergency vehicles for which an emergency doesn't exist, they do so Now, I will address the issue of the siren where that is concerned and not the emergency vehicle, because there is a disruption that comes with it. There is a selfish disruption that comes with it, and that shouldn't be. So, if I can put everything that based on what you asked me in a nutshell, I'd say that what we see prevailing is something which has been tolerated for too long. It's something that has to be addressed only one way, not a straitjacket, a flexible but very meaningful one that contributes to what? To bringing about more sanity with which the road is used. And that is enforcement must complement traffic education. Awareness has to be complemented by enforcement to realign the behavior of drivers, to bring about the change that we want to see, which naturally at the end of the day means more sensible use of the road with less accidents.
Let's talk about the stigma that's attached to the Guyana Police Force, specifically to the traffic department, as it relates to being stopped on the roadways and, in layman terms, having to pass a fine change to get out of the issue. Can you speak to that, sir?
May I put it this way to you, and not one that suits you or for public consumption? Where the police may be found lacking, it is as a result of the behavior of the driver who seeks to do as he or she pleases, and then comes to us to want to cause us to forego prosecution by a means which is unlawful, bribery. So here it is that we didn't solicit, but we are being encouraged if it occurs. And here I'm saying to you that should you, the road user, do what you ought to do in keeping with the laws that relate to the use of the road, there will be no giving and there will be no taking. There will be no demanding because you are always compliant. And at the end of the day, there should be no frustration if you're compliant or doing things lawful to go to court. When you win, there are recourses of action that can bring about more meaningful financial rewards for you by taking the appropriate private legal action. To address the issue, the police for too long would have been accused of, and in some cases proven, that we would have compromised our position for monetary gains. Of recent times, we have not had such in the public domain where it is like very prevalent or even at a minute scale that you can actually prove it. If it is occurring and that it may be occurring, it has to be dealt with. And how it is dealt with? By means of the OPR, which is our Professional Standards Bureau, by means of our own interaction with our junior ranks, by interaction with the commissioner and the leadership and the type of orders provided to us in the manner in which we operate. There are more SOPs now that guide how the force is being professionalized, and this actually realigns our behavioral practices with what is required. It is not as perfect as I said it. There still is much work to be done. Our ranks still need to be brought to that level of professionalization where you find it's not much talking, but it's more action, and the actions commensurate with what the public demands of a professional organization such as ours.
Regarding the e-ticketing system that is specifically targeting the more populated areas as of now, both President Ali and the Vice President Dr. Jagdeo would have spoken on this. Traffic Chief, can you shed some light as it relates to the manner in which this would help the people of Guyana and, of course, the Guyana Police Force so that we can, in a sense, take the manpower off of the roadways and better utilize them?
Um, Taking things from the helm of this country, with a specific leadership provided by Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, the Safe Road Intelligence System, a component of which is the automated e-ticketing system, that is implemented across the entire, it is intended to be implemented across the entire country. It's being implemented in phases right now because the infrastructure has to be put in place, calibrated, and then goes into full functionality. Where it is right now, it's working. It supports us for the offense of speeding. It supports us for capturing what actually prevails. And in a more smart way, we're able to do our work. So I'd like to advance the thought process on the outside, and where it is going is that this is intended to bring about the change that we want or desire, where smart traffic management is concerned. Because now those systems doesn't require police to administer it on the road. They're self-administered where they're placed. Their viewing takes place remotely. So there's no need for police to be there to give an impression as if it's one where there's a high security threat or it's a police state. The resources now are mobilized at specific areas and can be deployed immediately on report or observation of accident or congestion. This helps us know that though the numbers of traffic runs might be small, it is more effectively deployed to achieve greater levels of efficiency. So what the safe road intelligence system does for us is to help us to weed out wastage, be more proactive, a higher degree of responsiveness to the needs of the road using population. And back to the e-ticketing system, that system works well so far where it is implemented. That system gives us the opportunity to have a bigger view or broader view of what actually obtains. And eventually, when that system is fully functional and fully implemented, we'll be addressing other offenses to which the camera is placed, trained, and or established. So the police force would be in a position that you're more, put it first of all then, you're more advanced, you're more technologically capable, and your capacity is built to match it at the end of the day, from the human to the technology, and to meet the demands of the public. It takes away also importantly the ability of the police to be confrontational. I'm taking it from us, I'm not pointing to the public, that we may approach a situation from a standpoint because it's law enforcement. What we say is what you should believe. How we do it is a matter for us, but you must always accept it. That's not the case. That is now not how the Clifton and Hicken leadership would have been transcending downwards to all of us. It's never encouraged us to be that way. But while we admit that there are some rogues within us, we are working not only to get rid of them, so to speak, as people want to hear, but to refine their behavior and attitude to meet public demand, for consumption to be something where it is more equal, appropriate, and beneficial both ways.
All across Guyana, we have been witnessing police presence within the communities, in schools, and other public places. Of course, the aim is to foster stronger partnership between law enforcement and the people of the communities. Can you speak to the importance of this?
I'll speak to bridging the gap. It is very important to recognize, and we do, that where we came from is one of the very communities we are going back to serve. Now, critical to that is that at that time when we return to the community in uniform or plain clothes, but we are members of the force, discipline is the hallmark with which we operate. And so the community relations aspect of it enables us to what? To build a closer networking relationship that serves the interests of the day. And internal security is more or less addressed from a holistic standpoint. So where there's an issue, you're quickly informed and you put systems in place to address it. By addressing it by going into the area, treating with the problem, eradicating the problem, and putting measures in place that would, if it should ever give rise again, it can be specifically and strategically dealt with. Now, our community relations activity we engage in reference traffic specifically. Those are intended to meet the demands for all class of road users because the makeup of a community speaks to a student, a religious leader, a parent, a motorcyclist, a pedal cyclist, minibus driver, lorry owner and operator, and the entire works, even those of us who administer the law at the end of the day. So with that whole approach now, the awareness is raised to an extent that it gives real credence to what we are doing and not just going for a photo moment. Because too often how people see it when we go to these communities, 5 to 6 of us stand with one single resident of a community. That does not achieve much. It is my humble opinion that it's just for the optics, the photo moment, to say we did something status quo. This is not what it's about. And you can see clearly where some of the communities that we have engaged, adopted, this thing translates now to the bigger picture where we're going to others or they reach out to us before we even reach. Before we even step out to go to one of them, we're engaged to come. That says a lot. Now, that is a work in progress. And it has had significant rewards and or results for us in terms of law enforcement, as on many occasions when there is a crime committed or an accident which occurred, it was not reported or the driver fled the scene. We have been helped, we have been supported in that entire arrangement to ensure that justice at the end of the day is had and or solved.
Finally, it would be remiss of me not to ask. The Guyana Police Force, in my humble opinion, has come a far way. Specifically, let's look at under President Ali's leadership. Can you speak to where we are at right now compared to where we once were?
I wouldn't be speaking with a fork tongue, neither a political angle. I'm a policeman at the end of the day, and as a professional, I'd like to say something as a citizen of this country. Where we may have been then, with minimal resources, the humans considering first, motor vehicles, motorcycles, body pack cameras, LTE radio sets that give us the opportunity to not only communicate, but to see where the cameras are, what is prevailing. Those are some of the things I can speak of. When we didn't have them, we have them now. Where we didn't have enough, we have more now. Roads, for instance, we didn't have a Mandela Vehicles Interlink. We didn't have a Heroes Highway. We didn't have an Ogre Bypass. We didn't have a Schoonard Highway. We have them now. Traffic light signals, you're having them installed with the roadways when they are made and or commissioned. Traffic calming measures, you're having more of them. Critical to the whole arrangement of the safe road intelligence system to add right now based on what you ask. What about who recognizes that there is a speed radar sign, a digital speed infrastructure that tells you at the time that you're going at 85 and you're seeing the sign saying that the speed limit at the time is 80. This helps to bring about now in you a realization that you're not only going too fast, but maybe the situation on the road at the time dictates you go even slower than the speed limit because of the volumes. We have had body pack cameras given to us in about the last month or so, 5,000 to be exact. Now, we don't have 5,000 operational police on the roadway. That translates to one camera per rank who is or are in the operational field. All of this helps now for us to have an appreciation of what I'm talking about. That our ability to meet with the public or to treat with a report is greater. What we need to do, and that should be the question now, is to come up to not par, but above and meet beyond what is before us. Our game now is being raised by virtue of our academy having received the accreditation. The levels of training persons are exposed to internally and externally, locally, regionally, and internationally. So our capacity is built to the extent to meet basically that vision which our president has. So here now I'm talking from the police side based on what is provided to us and how we should deal with it. And that is precisely what is taking place. Now, whilst our president would have been committed 100% of everything a leader should give to the bodies responsible for delivery of services critical to nationhood, we are also responsible for meeting same more than halfway. And that is exactly what the Guyana Police Force has been doing under the present leadership and even before. But I can only give credence to what is before me. I am traffic officer during the Clifton Hicken leadership. I am traffic officer during the time when the administration in place sees it fit not only to provide, but to engage. So at the end of the day, when the service is provided, is one that is in demand of and caters to what is coming.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.